No big surprise here, but President Obama, the Republican Congress, they haven't seen eye to eye on just about anything on the better part of 6 years. The president has used his executive power to sign off on legislations that would have been blocked in the House, and now, due to asserting his authority, the president is facing a lawsuit. And, as well we know here, there have also been calls for, get this, impeachment.
Impeachment is a message that has to be sent to our president that we're not going to put up with this lawlessness.
This might be the first White House in history that's trying to start the narrative of impeaching their own president. Ultimately, what we want to do is see the president follow the laws. But the president took an oath to faithfully execute the laws of this land, and he's not. In fact, the Supreme Court unanimously, more than 12 times, unanimously said the president overreached.
Remember when impeachment, you never heard that? I mean, other than Nixon, you never heard of that? Now it's, hey, let's impeach the guy. Well, anyway, the calls for impeachment may hit a dead end. Congress rarely uses that power, even though now they talk a lot about it. And a president has never really been removed from office here. The majority of Americans are not on board, by the way, with threats from the right to impeach the president. As a YouGov poll points out here, when asked, do you think there is or is not justification for Congress to begin impeachment proceedings against the president, 35%, and this is purely on party lines here, they say yes, while 44% saying no, and 21% are not sure, which to me, it's amazing the number's even that close. Now, guys, to me, and we're going to go through a series of these, on this one, is it that the Republicans are playing to their base, they lose nothing by trying, or are there folks in the middle to say, my God, it's romper room in Washington, now these clowns are talking about impeaching here, I've had it. You know what, I don't love the president, but I hate these guys even more. Is there real risk to Republicans if they keep going down this road?
I don't think there's any risk to the Republicans. I think they're actually doing something quite smart because they're demonizing this president where no matter what accomplishments he has, all Americans are starting to see in a midterm election year is that basically this president is incompetent.
I got it, but talking about impeaching and suing him is different than saying
it plays
we don't want this
to
guy
their base, Richard. We may think it's greatly out of the world, and by the way, I thought. And you got to give it to Sarah Palin. Her 15 minutes of fame has lasted, what, 12 years? This from a candidate. This from a candidate that had a nervous breakdown on a national ticket, and she's got the nerve to call for impeaching anyone. Well, the Republicans are demonizing Obama, and they're doing a good job.
It's absolutely ludicrous. I mean, this is just, I think what you're seeing, and polls have shown this, the Republicans were, everybody said they were going to win back the Senate just 2-3 months ago. Now, all of a sudden, North Carolina, you're seeing a bunch of these states that were toss-ups that are now trending in the blue direction. I mean, he's looking more like a victim, I think, than he is looking like a demon. I think people are starting to say, this is ridiculous. Let's get the business.
That's where there is some risk. Let's say you take one of these, toss-up Senate races in Louisiana or North Carolina or Georgia, which is now in play at this point. You have to ask the Republican candidate, would you support impeachment? And because so many Republicans in polls say they actually do want the president impeached, they can't give an answer. They can't, I mean, they'll either say yes or they'll give a non-committal answer.
But some embrace it. I mean, even John Boehner, who you think would be tamping the thing down, he's stoking the fires, and he should know better than in those swing states. It's crazy.
Boehner's been very specific about not wanting to impeach the president. But then again, that's the same thing that he said about shutting the government down. It's almost the exact verbatim.
I'll give you a social issue. Same-sex marriage. Long been a topic that's divided both parties here. Just this week, Senator Marco Rubio of Florida said he's tired of being attacked for making comments like this.
There is a growing intolerance on this issue. Intolerance towards those who continue to support traditional marriage. And I promise you that even before the speech is over, I'll be attacked as a hater or a bigot or as someone who's anti-gay. This intolerance in the name of tolerance is hypocrisy. Supporting the definition of marriage as one man and one woman is not anti-gay. It is pro-traditional marriage. And if support for traditional marriage is bigotry, then Barack Obama was a bigot until just before the 2012 election.
Okay, well, let's go to last year when an NBC News Wall Street Journal poll found that 2/3 of Republicans oppose same-sex marriage and nearly 3/4 of Democrats here were in favor of giving gay and lesbian couples the right to marry. And if you want to see where the trending is on this, so a new poll out says 2/3 of Democrats, they say, support same-sex marriage, while 57% of Republicans oppose it. Okay, you want to see just the general public on this one? There you see it. And the margin keeps getting wider and wider with each successive month, let alone year, that you ask the question. More people are in favor of this. I think Republicans, Andrew, are dying for the courts to solve this for them, so I don't have to get into it. I think they know down deep that the numbers are even worse when you start looking at the younger generations coming up. They want this thing to go away, but yet, for November, they're going to be the party that's against gay marriage.
I think that's true in a lot of places except the deepest red pockets of the country. If in a very deep red state or district, it plays very, very well. And Marco Rubio, the linguistic gymnastics he just went through, he is homophobia-phobic. He's afraid of being labeled homophobic. There's really not much ground, as the nuanced speech by Rubio showed us there, there's really not that much ground for defending
and by the way, I think Republicans,
marriage.
if you want to look at it on the flip side, if they do come out forward and they have a personal story to tell, a nephew, a kid, a loved one, a staffer
Rob Portman in Ohio.
Rob Portman, they find clearance on this. People give them a pass because everybody knows somebody, and even those that aren't as tolerant on the issue, they can humanize it more than they used to. All right, I want to get to an issue that was this week, guys, and that was the VA. We've seen this time and time and again, not even this administration, once before it. Veteran Affairs always runs into a brick wall. Everybody says they love the vets, but when it comes to ponying up the money for it, that's a different story. Comes up for a vote here. Republican lawmakers blocked the legislation because of the price tag. Now, another VA spending bill is up for a vote in the House. The bill would give $10 billion to contract care outside of the VA, also give another $5 billion to the VA to hire more doctors and set up to 27 new health clinics across the country. And $12 billion is also part of the new spending, which is why the House may not pass the bill. New York Times saying all attention now turns to whether Congress can actually pass the bill before they go on break in August, and whether some lawmakers, including Republicans concerned about the price tag, will balk here. And I just want to remind everybody, you go back to '99, okay, when Republicans beat back a Democratic attempt to give almost $2 billion in additional health care funds for Democrats, also rejecting claims that the VA was even in a crisis. And back in February, Senate Republicans blocking legislation that would have expanded federal health care and education programs for vets. The so-called bipartisan bill died in the Senate when almost every Republican voted against it, saying that, again, the price tag was too pricey.
I don't think our veterans want their programs to be enhanced if every penny of the money that's going to enhance those programs is added to the debt of the United States of America.
Greatly expand spending without any realistic offset.
I think the decision we've got here as we debate this legislation is whether we're going to commit to a promise that's bigger than what our kids can fulfill, that costs more than our kids can afford. My colleague pointed out most of the veterans organizations support this bill. He's in fact correct.
As far as the bill that the chairman has offered here, this bill's already been debated, and there are problems with this bill. It is an extensive piece of legislation. It has many good elements in it. It also has a cost issue at a time when our nation owes close to $18 trillion. And that was the reason why so many on my side of the aisle objected to it. And that's why I would object.
Okay, let me show you what the public says, though. Public says no, show them the money. 46% say yes, increase the funding here. 28% say leave it alone, and only 6% say cut it. And here is the point, guys. The frauds that I just heard from, never once did one of them say, where are the offsets to pay for Iraq and Afghanistan, okay? Nobody cared about the trillions of dollars we spent when it came to going to war, but the guys come home, and we're talking a fraction of that to take care of them, the way that they'll all love to say, salute the troops, and now all of a sudden they got a fiscal conscience where they're worried about where the money's coming from. It's such a bunch of you-know-what. The same guys also who screamed during the VA hearings when they heard what the problems were, and now all of a sudden, here's the solution, but it's too rich for their blood. Come on. The question is, do you think the public's going to care then when it comes to vote? I think this one, in the North Carolinas of the world, where you got major bases and where these guys sell, I think it does. You think I'm naive here or no?
I think it absolutely does, and I think Democrats need to make it their priority when they're out on the campaign trail in North Carolina, in Kentucky, where McConnell was also in a tight race, and say, guys, where were these guys years ago when Bush was running us into major deficits, wars, Medicare Part D,
that's an awfully
all this
nuanced
stuff.
position to try to sell to voters. I mean,
But their only reason against it, Andrew, is money. That's
I
it.
understand that, but I don't think they want to solve the problem, because right now, at least in their minds, the public thinks it's Obama's fault because it happened under Obama's VA.
That's the key. You see, Richard, in all of these districts across America, whether they're total phonies or not, and we all agree that they're phonies, some of these politicians, but the commercials are going to say Barack Obama, and that's code language, meaning Democrat in this case. The big spending Democrat wants a blank check, and we're protecting you. We say no. They'll get away with it yet again.
A blank check to solve his problem. They want you to pay for his mistake.
Right. That's the way the commercial will go.
What if they say, I got a way to pay for it. We're going to close the corporate tax loophole when they're going to hide their profits overseas, but we'll use that money and we'll pay for VA, hospital, and treatment for our vets who fought for this country. So if the corporations don't have American patriotism to them, the patriots who did fight for the country, we're going to take care of them. And that's
the Democratic counter to that?
What if they tried that?
So to fix his problem, now Obama wants to take your job away. Because make it harder for business, that means fewer jobs.
But our deficit and our debts have gone down basically since Obama's second year in office.
But that's not the message that connects.
I understand
the message that connects, as we all know around
it's
this
about
table,
doing the right thing for our veterans. That's what it is, right?
Obama, who promised everything, has delivered nothing and is spending all of our money.
That's my next
That's the message.
That's my next segment.
That's the message.
Don't jump ahead here. The big one we all know about that's going to also come up in this fall is immigration. Border crisis. It's got lawmakers on both sides of the aisle speaking about what to do when unaccompanied kids, and thousands of them, continue to pour into the U.S. Republicans, they don't have so much of a nuanced approach here. Take a listen.
And we can have Marco Rubio and Rand Paul going around saying, what are you going to do? Deport them all? Deport them all? Just get them in. And in a matter of years, they'll be voting Democrat and collecting welfare.
Why not take all of these kids and drop them in all of these wealthy counties in Washington and the suburbs of D.C.? Let's drop them there. Let's have the policymakers actually have to live with the results of their policy.
I think what you need to do is ask the Guatemalan government where they want these kids dropped off when the buses bring them back down there.